don't know, I'm actually not Tom Crago. I'm Mark Flanagan, and I shall be chairing today. We have on our panel Jay and Brian. You may know them from the party last night. I certainly do, which was quite awesome. So thank you, Jay, for that. What we're talking about today is middleware and the advantages of using middleware and the kind of things we can actually get from middleware. And these guys know more about it than, let's say, anybody else in our industry. We've got a couple of housekeeping things to start with. The first thing we have to do is thank people for lunch today. So that was IDB Chartered Accountants for sponsoring the tea. And also, anybody who's got a mobile phone, can you please turn it off? Yep, everybody's doing this. Okay. The way this is going to run is hopefully we're going to have questions first. Do we have people with microphones to go around, or we can just shout? Is there a microphone person here? Here we go, some microphones. And we will volunteer to carry microphones. Here we go. Greetings. Just in time. That's okay. So our third panelist. Our third panelist here is from Havok. That's Tim. Yep. So we'll start off. I have a few questions prepared already. But if people want to ask questions to start with, feel free to do so. I'll just jump in. Anybody have a question to start with? No questions? Questions, please.
Answers? Anybody have any answers?
Okay, I'll start with some questions for you. The first question I have here prepared is, why outsource versus internal tech? What would your perspective of this be? Why should people use your product rather than actually make their own?
Sure, I'll start that one off. In this day, especially as the technology, the hardware technology and the platforms are becoming ever so complex, the cost, both in time and money, to develop the software, the technology, to adequately drive that hardware is growing at just an insane rate. The amount of time that you will spend developing an engine or technology, we license engines, so I'll speak to the engine side. The amount of time you'll spend developing the integrated tool set to really take advantage of that, and the money that you'll spend doing that, you can license something like a middleware engine, just like Unreal Engine 3. Not that I'm suggesting you do that, but if you want to later, you can come talk to me. But you can license a technology like Unreal Engine 3 at a fraction of the cost. You can begin to become productive the very day that you get access to the technology versus waiting for your teams of engineers to build that technology over the course of how many man years and how many millions of dollars in an effort to just be to the point where they're competing with what Unreal Engine can give you now. And in addition to that, what we find, engineers will typically come back to us, and a lot of engineers, they're very proud, rightly so, as they should be, and they have a not invented here. They are very proud of their work, and they think that they can solve problems better. And in some cases, that's true. But oftentimes, if you take on something like Unreal Engine and use it as a foundation, you can take it, instead of starting at zero and working your way up to being in a competitive spot with Unreal Engine, you can take it from where we are with Unreal Engine and go and take it that much higher, putting you at a much greater competitive advantage to the other products in the marketplace in a much faster place. It's cheaper, faster, get to market sooner. That's all I got.
So one of the things that I see is when game teams spend too much time developing the engine, a lot of times you get lost and we forget that, unfortunately or fortunately, we're all in this from a business standpoint. We need to make money, and our gamers, people have to buy our games. But if you can use a third party and their software, their solutions, you can either choose a broad solution like Jay, or if you need to do something specific, like in my case, if you've got a lot of storytelling, then we're going to help you with the emotions and bring those emotions out in games like it'd be very difficult to do on your own. Or you have to also look at what we offer from a leverage standpoint. So while we can go real high on the quality scale all the way to TV level, which my company has done, or if you just need something from a speed standpoint, where we've done up to 300 minutes of facial animation in 8 weeks. So there's trade-offs there from a business standpoint, but it's hard to do those kinds of things if you're all in-house and you can leverage and scale on the outside. And those are the kinds of things that give you options. And like Jay said, you gotta, it's about the end result. Don't get lost in your own, what's the good word?
Non-invented here.
Yeah, not invented here. Although not invented here.
Right.
Yeah, take the options and evaluate our solutions, because it may be the right thing for you. It may not be, but go into it with an open mind. That's the key.
I guess just to add to that, one thing I know that we see a lot of at Havok is we get a lot of feedback through our support portal and things like forums and going out and talking to customers. So, you know, you're not just saving the time that it takes to develop, but you also get to take advantage of all that industry experience. So we've had several years of talking to other game companies and refining, you know, particular use cases as well as in a broader sense, and being able to really kind of anticipate problems before they happen. And you know, there's a lot of problems to solve that we've already come across because of that, because we've touched so many other different companies.
Okay. Any questions from the floor on this? No? Yes, you have a question?
Yeah. Are you guys doing anything for the casual space?
In the casual space, from our point of view, we're sort of agnostic as to where the tech can be used. The tech can be used for the casual space, digital downloadable, sort of under $15, smaller game size, straight on up to, you know, AAA blockbuster maniac games. From our own personal experience, we just recently released a game from one of our subsidiaries called Shadow Complex, which was it's a casual game, and I don't want to make sure that we have an understanding of casual. Casual doesn't necessarily mean bejeweled. Casual, just, you know, it's a smaller size, digital downloadable, more of a smaller appetite game. And in that case, yeah, we've been very successful in that space with our tech from one of our own companies. And we know there are a bunch of companies out there using our tech in that space. Not only that, but they can use it to make games like the bejeweled kind of things, you know, with bubbles popping and things like that. We have one game out there from a company called Psionics that's based on the UK that we just released called Whizzle. That's just right in that wheelhouse.
We are working on some casual games. We've been focused primarily on the AAA titles, and we actually have, like I said, we talk about film. I think some people will talk about the film industry. I run both the film and the game side, so we do have some film business as well. While we don't have a lot of casual gaming under our belt yet, there are a couple of tests going on right now. There's no reason why we could do casual gaming. It just hasn't been a focus for us specifically yet.
Yeah, I guess it's the same for us. We've had a few games released that use Havok that are, you know, downloadable like PlayStation Network and Xbox Live, but there's no real reason that a casual game couldn't use our tech. We don't have a special, like a separate release that's just for casual versus, you know, more AAA, but we don't want to be limiting either. So we do have different. You know, I guess that's more like more of a marketing from the sales side, having different pricing structures for things like our